Games, Brains and a Head-Banging Life, Phil. Welcome to the Nasties, episode 1. Hopefully you will have watched the pre-episodic video we did where we explained what we're doing here, but just briefly, it's Video Nasties. We're going to be covering all 72 films, the prosecuted and non-prosecuted films that make up the Video Nasty list. Starting with a difficult one to say. We have the Blu-ray here. Don't know if you can see that very well. It is Anthropophagous.
Anthropophagous.
And that's, yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's a much better way of saying it. The Beast, it was originally released in this title, but also called that with the subtitle of The Beast. Yeah. Also known as the Grim Reaper, Man Beast, Man-Eating, The Savage Island, Anthropophagous. Originally, it was released at 8 minutes of pre-edits as the Grim Reaper in 2002. However, you can now find this film completely uncut as of June 2015. It's only a couple of years ago, which is what we have here. The complete uncut bonus featured version of the Blu-ray. Comes in high definition, extensive colour correction, a never before seen deleted scene, which we'll mention at the end. Yeah. English audio, Italian audio with newly translated English subtitles, and loads of other stuff. Interview with actors. Luigi Montefiore, who's actually better known as George Eastman, which is the Eastman Chronicles we saw on the menu.
Okay. Yep.
And more historical stuff, plus theatrical trailers. And a reversible cover in here that gives you the Italian release cover. But yes, this is described as one of the more notorious Video Nasties. It's quite an interesting one to start with.
Yeah, I thought, yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, a lot of these Video Nasty, not a lot, I'd say maybe about 10 going through the list, have actually been written and reviewed over on the site, gbhbl.com. You can actually read written words about them there. This is the first time of covering anything like this in a video format. And let's get to it straight away. I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good film.
Yeah.
I'm expecting a lot of dross.
Like, there will be a lot of dross.
There'll be a lot, and I'm like, oh god. But I actually enjoyed it. It had a story, it had a proper story to it. There wasn't over sexualised for no reason.
Oh like yeah, well so yeah.
There was nothing. There was none at all, really.
No, there really wasn't. Well, we'll get to that. Let's just we're going to touch through the story then briefly. It opens. There's very Italian of an era as well. You know, you got these wide shots of beaches and very small towns, very designed to increase tourism for these particular islands, make it look very beautiful, very serene, very
like, you know, imagine you know it was on a Greek island.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, so you knew exactly, saw some like Greek architecture, you saw Greek traditions, signs in Greek.
Yep.
So it was like, okay, we're different on a Greek island. Oh, it looks nice there.
It does.
All of this going on. It's quite nice.
It does look particularly nice. Let's avoid this island. Yeah. And the first part basically has an unknown couple walking through this town while this jangly music plays, credits and so on. And basically they go to the beach. The German tourists, we got very confused here watching this because basically we had it on English dubbing, the audio, and it was coming up with subtitles and they were speaking in German. So we were like, oh, is it a problem here? Tried it again, same thing, speaking in German, but with English subtitles. So decided, oh, maybe it's an issue with the film. Let's just watch it with Italian and the English subtitles, figuring that'll be a more authentic way to watch it. Yeah. And then we found out shortly afterwards that actually no, the opening is the two people speak in German. They're German tourists. Yeah, so and then if you have the English audio on, it will switch to English audio. So basically, go to the beach. She goes for a swim. He sunbathes with the biggest pair of headphones. I'm laughing, going, "Are they wireless? How can it be wireless?"
They've actually got batteries inside each one. They're like this big.
Yeah, like big radios on his ears. So he lies down for it. She goes for a swim and gets distracted by a boat that's floating. She then, pulls herself up in it, and you can see blood in it. Yeah. And then she gets grabbed under the water because you're getting on the underwater camera shot.
All blood and stuff.
And then you see blood and all that. And then it switches to a sort of first-person view of someone emerging from the water, approaches the man who's lying on his back, headphones on, eyes closed, and he gets a hatchet in the head, and you get a nice up-close shot to it. It's not the best effect of the film. No. It's all right looking and nothing that would have got it in trouble. No, you know?
I don't think so. No, definitely not.
And that's basically a cold opening. Then we switch to a group of young adults who are in a cable car, and basically they meet a new younger woman who, by knocking her camera out of her hand, and it turns out they're going to a specific island on a trip, and she wants to buddy along with them to stop at an island where she's going to look after a girl for a family. She goes there every summer. They get to know each other. There's lots of that stuff, getting to know each other, talking while they go to the van and drive. You say lots of shots of the island and stuff like that. And then lots of stuff on the boat where you get a bit more character stuff.
Yeah.
Where there's a bit of flirtatiousness, characters clearly into other characters, others that are jealous. And then we're introduced to, I guess, one of the major players who isn't psychic but has these feelings and does tarot cards.
Yeah, she likes all that stuff, doesn't she? So.
And she does the tarot cards for her pregnant friend, who's heavily pregnant as well, so really shouldn't be on this trip.
Yeah, yeah.
When as soon as you sort of see that she's heavily pregnant, your mind starts going places in a horror movie. We'll get to that later on.
Yeah.
Anyway, the cards show that she hasn't really got much of a future, which causes a little bit of fear and stuff like that. And basically, end up at the island. At the island, a pregnant lady hurts her foot, getting off the boat, so stays, and the rest go off to explore the town and find it deserted, basically. And it's the same town from the beginning, so that was interesting for us because we know it isn't deserted.
Yeah, because you clearly see people
reading newspapers, kids, families, and it's quite lived in.
Yeah.
So they're exploring and so on, and they don't really find anything. They find their only form of communication, which is the telegraph machine. It's been damaged, so there's no way to communicate. And then they find, then the boat, which has his pregnant wife on. So before that, we go back to that.
Yeah.
And the boat owner, the boat rider, goes to get some fresh water, and a wicked shot.
Oh, it is really good, yeah.
He drops the water, the bucket into the water, pulls it up. Goes to pull it up, and then we see from in the water him just get like knocked in.
Pulled into the water.
Yeah, pulled into the water, and then you don't see what happens to him straight away, which is cool. Now she calls out from he's not there. She goes and pulls the bucket herself, and you call this. Yeah. You call this. Tell it what happens.
I was like, oh, I bet his head's in the bucket, and he pulls it up, and he puts an injured foot back in a cup of water, and there's the head in the bucket.
Yeah.
So
terrible.
It's a pretty
effect.
Yeah, it's a pretty clearly a mannequin, like a rubber mannequin.
Yeah, very bad look, and the water does not help it.
I would have had bloody water covering his face so you couldn't see how bad the dummy was.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe just like the head of hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a better effect.
But that would be the last we see of her for a while, because the others see the boat like drifting out. And her husband or boyfriend initially freaks out, but the rest are like, look, no, the storm's coming in. The ship guy, the ship owner, captain, took it away from the docks and will come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And like they all just go back to a house and basically settle down for the night. Yeah. And you know, one of the things I've got to say as well at this point, it really is wonderfully shot. And as the storm comes in and it's night in this house, you get these wicked shots
of
shadows and lighting. It's done really, really, really well. As they kind of they wonder about why the place is so empty, and eventually they'll go to sleep. And one wakes up in the night, goes exploring as you do, ends up in the basement, and where another guy comes down to help her in an awful attempt at a scare. Where he's behind her with a hatchet, and you think it's a killer, but it's just him. Why he's holding a hatchet up, who knows? Yeah. But you actually get what would be a jump scare here, I guess, as a girl erupts from the wine barrel, stabs him, and then is just stabbing wildly in the air. Yeah. At first I thought it was because she's catatonic, but actually it's because she's blind. Yeah. Wicked shot.
Oh, it's really
cool. It looks like blood, like dripping off her, but it's wine. Yeah. And it was a clever hiding place.
Yeah, you would hide somewhere like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because it wouldn't be full to the top, so you would have that, but you would up like the darkness and how long she's been there. You know, it's not very, very nice. Anyway, they rescue her, and the man who got stabbed kind of gets cleaned up and stuff, and it's a cut, but not like life-threatening. Yeah. And it turns out this girl is the daughter, the girl who was to be looked after. She's blind and stuff like that. She seems catatonic, but she talks, while in bed, she talks about knowing when he comes because she can smell him. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, everybody starts to split up and go different ways. Some go to get antibiotics to help the guy that got stabbed, and basically it kind of leads from there. Some stay at home, they're off to get the drugs, and there's a lot of scenes of them just moving through the forest, and it's good because they're actually quite tension based. Yeah, because you're kind of expecting something to happen,
but nothing.
And nothing ever does. Yeah, but it works quite well, I think. Anyway, back at the house, we get a bit flirtatious and a come on attempt that gets rejected, and then we get the jealous girl comes back in.
Yep, and she sees
the
interaction, didn't she? And she's like, okay, and then blames the Blaine's the one that kind of joins the group.
Yeah.
Everything happens, and it's all your fault. You brought us to this island, and then runs off.
Yeah.
Like an idiot.
She chases after her. There's a bit of running and chasing throughout the woods. Ends up at a graveyard where she continues to look for her but can't find her. And back in the house, the one now remaining guy the one who had been stabbed and's got bandages all over him, goes to leave. He closes the door. That's where we get a first shot of the villain, who is basically a really tall man, a bit of a beast-looking man. It's supposed to be. He's got not great makeup on him, which kind of supposed to be like skin flaking off.
Yeah.
Which would explain a little bit later on, but it doesn't look great, particularly when you get up close. It's clearly just sort of smeared some grainy shit over his forehead.
Yeah, to make it look like it's dead skin, yeah.
And he attacks the blind girl in the bed. The man comes running back in. He then gets his throat bitten out, gets up nice and close for this, so you kind of see the skin tearing.
So that'd be something.
That's
a tick, isn't it?
When we're talking about things that might have got it on the prosecuted or cut list, this is one of the scenes. He dies. Eventually, everybody comes back who could come back, and they find them dead. And then we switch to the next day. The next day, they explore some more, end up finding the rich family's house, where they find in there a woman they'd previously seen wearing all black, who's been watching them from afar.
Yep.
In there, she shows that she had found a psychic woman, or the tarot card reading woman. It looks like she's going to hang her, because there was a shot where she's playing with a noose and gets close to her, but actually it turns out she hangs herself by throwing herself over the stairs. Yep. It's a pretty violent scene.
So again, that'd be another tick on the
I'm not too sure about that one, because hanging scenes were done in things like The Omen, and that was quite a violent hanging too.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, in this house, it all leads to people splitting up and going looking. There's a boat comes back, so they figure, we'll be able to find his wife. But he ends up coming across like an abandoned church/fort with a crypt.
Oh, yeah.
And in there, he finds his pregnant wife. Very, very long scene. Very well shot of skulls and bones and then dead bodies who have been added to the piles. It's one of the more gothic toned, but really impressive scene.
Yeah, I like it.
One of our characters, the doctor character, just about disappears from the movie completely now.
He just goes off on his own little tangent.
And the remaining women in the house basically explore and, for reading diaries and stuff, discover that the brother of this family went mad at sea.
Yeah.
And that is rooms in this house, and she locked it up. Later on, we see she discovers it by throwing something through the mirror, and the door's behind her, and in there she finds the bodies of the family, the rest of the family decaying and stuff like that. But in the crypt, we have to focus on this bit quite heavily, because it is almost guaranteed. I don't know what parts got this film in trouble, but this has got to be the one.
Yeah.
So he finds his pregnant wife, and she's fine.
Yeah.
A little bit worse for wear, tired looking, dehydrated and stuff like that, but she's fine. And I was surprised. I thought we were going to get mutilated belly.
Yeah.
Stuff related to the baby. But we didn't. Before they leave, though, your man, the killer, the beast, comes into the crypt. And, he approaches them, and the guy tries to talk him out of it. Oh, my wife's pregnant.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, he didn't care before. He brought her here. Why would he care now? She's clearly pregnant.
Yeah.
He grabs the knife from the man and stabs him quite hard in the chest. And you see the knife go in further as well, before turning his attention to the pregnant woman. He knocks her down, begins to strangle her, and then he reaches down low with his hand. And he reaches down between her legs, and basically, this is pretty fucked up. He reaches inside her, she dies happily before he pulls it out, and pulls out her entire womb. You can see the sac that still surrounds the baby. Yeah. Pulls the entire thing out. The umbilical cord is still attached. Yeah. And holds it up and then bites into it.
Yeah.
It is pretty fucking graphic. Pretty messed up. Clearly designed to shock. Yeah, I don't really know what you can say about this one.
It's weird because it's just completely out of thing with the rest of the film. Because I would say it's well shot. There's no gratuitous sex in it. But this is just, whoa, okay, wow.
Yeah. And there's also in the crypt that we get a flashback to see what happened to him, as he has a kind of memory when, and a memory is, I guess, basically, him, his wife and child were on board a ship. It sunk. They ended up being lost at sea, and sunburnt and delirious and starving. He wanted to eat their son who had died, Although it's weird, in one shot his eyes are closed, and another shot they're open.
Yeah.
So, you know, weird death.
Yeah.
His wife tried to defend the child, but he stabbed her by accident and killed her.
So he was like, oh my god.
Yeah. You have to presume he then ate their bodies and went mad from that. Yeah. This is the only time you see anything resembling nudity. Her shirt is open.
Yeah.
And you get a brief flash of side boob.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But that's it.
Yeah.
For one of these films, that is it for nudity or sex, which is such a surprise.
They're probably thinking, oh, if we don't do much of that,
we can get
away with it.
Oh, we don't show tits. We don't show any tits, so we can show a baby womb being ripped out of a woman and then eaten.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Yeah. So back at the... So basically, at this point in the movie, we have 4 survivors. We have the doctor who's disappeared completely. We have the tarot card reading, maybe psychic. We have the girl who originally joined up with them. And we have the blind girl. One less now, as the tarot card reader comes down the stairs trying to find the girl.
Julia.
And it's really well done, this. She calls for her and says, I'm in here where she's reading the diary, in the room where all the dead bodies are. We then cut, and then we cut back and she's shuffling in, and she's had her throat slashed. So in a brief moment between when the camera cut, when she came down the stairs and she was okay, to when she's coming and she had her throat cut. You might think, oh, that's stupid. No, because he then burst out from another door. So he cut her throat and then came round. Brilliant, that.
Yeah, it's a good effect. It's a good effect from that.
So she's now dead, and basically we then get a kind of final girl situation. As she gets chased around a bit, she grabs the blind girl, they head up the stairs and keep going up and up to the attic. It's a very slow chase scene. He has no urgency. Think Michael Myers in something like Halloween 4 or 5, where he walks particularly slow. They get up this ladder, go up into the attic and lock the door. They had enough time to fucking call an Uber in. Uber driver coming up the stairs behind him. He's moving that slow. He can't get through the lock thing, so he walks off. They sort of sit there for a bit and so on. And you know something's coming. And I presume the trapdoor would burst open. But it doesn't. Instead, his hand comes through the roof.
So he's gone round the other side.
Which was cool. And he grabs the blind girl by the hair, rips her through the broken boards, which cuts up her face, which is something you don't see. No, I really like it.
Really good effect.
And he's holding her head, and actually see it start to tear here, which is awesome. Really up close and violent. And then he bites her throat, bites into her throat, which again... graphic, brutal. While this is going on, the other girl's picking away with a pickaxe at the roof to try and get to him. She manages to get through too late after he's killed the blind girl, but stabs him in the ankle with the pickaxe, and he falls off the roof. She pulls the girl back through. She's clearly dead, and then she leaves. Now, weirdly, this is weird. You didn't get an indication that the blind girl's still alive. She blinks a couple of times.
And it's been an error.
But it focuses on it.
Yeah. Maybe that's to throw you off at the end. You think she's going to come back.
Maybe. Or maybe it was sequel bait. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's a weird one. But basically, we then head back downstairs. She looks for the body, can't find him. But then stupidly peers into a well where he then grabs her and drags her down. You get this wicked shot. So the rope wraps around her hand and leaves her hanging in a well. And you get this wicked shot from below of her hanging by her hand and stuff like that. And you're kind of screaming at her, swing over to the ladder. Which she does, actually. Thankfully, she does. And starts making her way up as he starts to climb up behind her in the well. It's quite tense because he's trying to grab the rope to pull her back. But eventually she gets out, but he follows directly behind her. And he grabs the rope then and starts to pull her closer with her. And it's tied around her wrist so she can't come. It's really well done. And you were saying at this point, where's the pickaxe? She left the pickaxe on the side of the well. Presumably... an error. But no.
Continuity,
We then get a quick flash. The doctor's back. He grabbed the pickaxe. He grabbed it and swings it and slams it into the beast's stomach. The beast is obviously like, oh, grabs his stomach, rips his own guts out, holds them up like, oh, and then bites into them and then dies. It is a wicked fucking ending. Dying as he's eating his own guts. The end.
There you go.
I hope we got that across well. It really is a surprisingly good flick. It's one that holds up, I think. I've seen a lot of films that have this style. When I watch this, I think of things like Island of Death, which is one I've seen loads. It's one of these on his list, and it's one that's reviewed in the site. And that looks terrible in contrast to this. The director, it's Joe, I just remember my name, Joe D'Amato, famous Italian director. He's really, really got
Good
style.
job. Yeah.
Really got style. But lots of other things, and we've talked a lot about how well shot it is, but it's well acted.
Yeah.
Some of the dubbing is bad.
But we always have that with dubbing.
You live with it.
Yeah.
And sometimes the effects of people panting and crying and stuff is overdone to the point of annoyance.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest complaint there. There isn't a massive amount of gore.
No.
But when it comes,
It's really good.
and there's about 4 or 5 scenes, it's... When it does come, most of them are very graphic, which is, I guess, what got this in trouble.
Yeah.
It's a very good film. It's about an hour and a half long. I didn't feel bored during it.
No.
I was interested. I wasn't scared, but I do think there were some tense moments. I think what a great start to this series.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I don't know, although, is it setting us up false hopes? Because we're going to watch a lot of...
Well, at the end I will announce what episode 2 will be about, and then so on, we'll be doing it each time. But the last thing we'll talk about before we wrap this episode 1 up is the deleted scene. So I had a deleted scene which we checked out. Very, very short scene.
Oh, yeah.
So on the boat, the tarot card reader girl, I can't remember names.
Carol.
Threw her cards into the water. She was so like, oh, the cards have failed me, or the cards aren't showing anything. She was thrown into the water in a very sort of lazily way. That's part of the film. Then it cut to obviously a very, very bad handheld camera.
Yeah.
And basically the scene is, you think he's snagged a fish, thinks it's really big, sharp, pulls it out. I thought it was just a boot, but it's not. It's a boot with a foot in it because the bone's sticking up. You get that sharp, jangly music, and they're like, oh, and that's it. Then we cut back to the normal film of where they're arriving at the island. It makes sense why this was cut. There was no reason for them to have a scene that would imply horror before they got to the horror site.
Yeah, and it'd be like, it might make you less likely to go somewhere like that without knowing anything about it.
We'd also had to change the tone of what followed.
Yeah, because it was quite...
There was no fear.
Jovial up until that point. Yeah,
that would change the tone.
Foot, you'd be like, oh my God.
So it says to me, maybe they didn't originally change the tone. Then they were like, that scene just doesn't work, cut it. So it's a deleted scene that's well worthy of deletion. On reflection then, on a wrap up over this, looking at it, can you understand why this was brought forth to be prosecuted?
Oh yeah.
You can?
Yeah, I think just...
The whole film or one scene?
Just one scene.
Okay, one scene. Which is?
The baby scene. It's just an extra step of nastiness. And I can see why they'd be like, do you know what, there's blood and guts and gore, but that's just an extra level of... Yeah, just nastiness, really. And I can see why they would go, no, that's not cool.
I 100% agree. That is the scene. I think the other stuff can be graphic, particularly the blind girl's death. And I think they have a lot of zoom-in focus on like a bloody wound or a face that's cut up or a throat that's ripped out. But that tends to do and then cut quickly away. So it doesn't like... It doesn't stay long on it. It doesn't like drink. It's not asking you to drink in the moment and go, oh, look how terrible that is. It's like, oh, that's shocking. There you go. This movie would have got in trouble for the baby scene alone. It is incredibly shocking. Yeah. Even by today's standards, it was like, what the fuck? And be honest, it's out of place.
Yeah.
With the overall tone of the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I'd rather have him doing something else. Like, you see... Maybe have like a flashback to him like causing carnage because he's obviously killed everyone in the village.
Yep.
Maybe have just more scenes of him causing carnage in the village rather than that. I'd rather have, say, more gore spread over them than just that one shocking bit.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So yeah, can you say the name again for me? Because I can't say it.
Anthropophagous, which I think is...
The beast.
Yeah, I think that this is a term for like cannibalism. Because anthro body, and I think phagus is actually like self-eating.
Oh, okay.
So I think, because you get phagocytes, and their cells eat other things. So I think it's like a word about cannibalism, I think.
Yeah, and the sort of blurb is, it's not fear that tears you apart, it's him. Awesome, awesome movie. What a great, great start.
Yep.
Thank you very much for watching episode 1. Hopefully it flowed well enough. We will continue to get better at this. Episode 2, we will be covering Evil Speak. When it was released in 1987, 3 minutes 34 seconds were cut.
That's a chunk.
A huge amount. It has been uncut since 2004. That is the version we have. Episode 2, look out for it. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/GBHBL, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?